Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's been honestly a really long time since I have uploaded anything on this channel, and there have been some reasons behind that. And of course, as you guys know, the situation, everything is happening these days, but I'm excited to continue my journey here on YouTube. And today and this year has been a very interesting year, especially with looking at the Fiverr, looking at digital marketing, social media marketing world. So I'm excited to dive deep into what are the hot gigs for the remaining of 2022, for 2023, what you should look for, what sort of industries, what niches are. Because honestly, Fiverr is still one of the places where I highly suggest you to get started. I highly suggest you to use it as a additional traffic and income source, because even for me this year has been a very great start, and obviously then it's went down a bit, but at the end of the day it's still providing a very stability income source. And I'll be revealing my sort of income this year and how I've been progressing on Fiverr, so you guys can know. So this is something that is coming in the next probably few weeks. But for now, let's look at our marketplace Fiverr, and let's look at the top digital marketing services that you can offer as well. So one of the things that I always go to, and you guys know that, social media marketing, right? So this is the category that you should look for, because when we're here, we can see those top performing gigs, we can see those top performing sellers, and eventually you can see probably a lot of them are still here at the top, right? So like, for example, you have, remember this guy Tommy, he's been always doing the hashtag research. This guy, actually I have met him here in Serbia, and it's been inspiring to see them, because it's not easy to keep up at the top of the rank. But as you guys remember, we've been discussing what brings you to the top. You have to have orders in queue, you have to have some good feedbacks, 5-star feedbacks, but the most important thing is the private feedback you're getting, right? So the buyer private feedback is probably even more important than your public feedback, right? So be careful, please, when you're delivering your orders, when you're providing the reports, providing all the information. You have to really over deliver, right? Because then they're gonna go into the private feedback, and Fiverr is gonna ask them, is this seller, you feel it's fitting good the category, if his service has been delivering 10 out of 10 or not. And if the buyer responds, let's say 5, 6, 7 in those rankings when they ask, then eventually your gig is going to go down, right? So from my side, my gig, I think I've seen it somewhere, so probably it's now on the second page, right? But it's been always fluctuates between the first page, the second page, the third page, and eventually when you go here in the recommended section, you can see another sort of boost of those gigs as well. So you might find a lot of gigs, especially for rising talent. That's what they started to do more often now. You can see one of my gigs is here as well. So I can tell you the first thing that I learned so far this year, especially, you need to have multiple gigs, right? So if you have only one gig, for example, if we go to this seller here, which is doing actually the same service as I'm doing, right? But if you take a look at her, I guess they're a couple, their profile, you can see they have only one Instagram, which has 150 plus in queue, which is good. And then they have TikTok, which has probably not as much, which is 12, right? So the biggest issue here is that when you have one gig, you're really underestimating the growth on Fiverr, right? Because Fiverr is not as it was before. Before, I only had 2 gigs, and we had one gig had like 500 orders in queue, another gig had like 300 orders in queue, right? So right now you need to definitely have multiple gigs. Be careful. You need to, kind of like from a Fiverr policy standpoint, they cannot be just equally everything the same. Okay, they might be providing the same service, but they still have to be a little bit different from each other, right? But at the end of the day, when you have multiple gigs, you can have opportunity to get promoted gigs for those gigs. So for example, my gigs, I have 3 gigs for Instagram right now, and actually, yes, 3 for Instagram, 1 for content, and those 3 Instagram, they're all in the promoted gigs, right? So I always, every day I have an opportunity to get ranked higher because of the promoted gigs. So this is one of the advantage. Another advantage, you never know which ones is going to work, which ones is not, right? So some of my gigs are performing really well, some other gigs are not performing as well, right? And then when the buyers come to you in the inbox, you can kind of like differentiate and, let's say, send a custom offer for the gig which is performing lower than others. That way you can eventually get it more in the search as well when you complete the order, when you get a positive review. So if we're looking from the service standpoint, right, you see the ghost followers here. So I would say Instagram is still big. It's going to be huge. 2023, I think it's going to be even bigger, to be honest, because as you guys probably seen with TikTok restrictions, bans potentially, there is in the talks in the US, right? So this is a big red flag. I definitely see a big demand for TikTok, but TikTok has been very strict this year. Especially I had a service, I had 140 clients on the TikTok service, and eventually all of a sudden it's just stopped. The reason why, because TikTok became more restrictive, sensitive, and eventually I was not able to do the same service as I was doing. With Instagram, things are much better, much more stable, although as you've probably seen as well, Meta fired a lot of employers, and that probably were in Instagram as well, so we might see some sort of changes maybe, but I don't think so, because honestly they had been making huge changes 2019, so Instagram is looking pretty strong. More people are there. It's definitely a very powerful communication source right now. I do use my DMs like crazy these days. I do communicate with people. I'm gonna guys be showing you a little bit how I manage my DMs as well, but it's been crazy. So we're looking for Instagram growth. It's still there. Content management has been one of the other gigs which are very stable, because you're not depending on anything, you're just doing the content. And I actually launched the content service as well this year. It's been doing pretty well, I would say. I launched it in October. I have probably completed like around few orders now. I have 4 or 5 in queue, so it's been producing a good result. So this is definitely good. Instagram posts, as you can see here, social media management, YouTube promotion, those gigs are always been there, but this is a very low ticket gigs. I'm not a big fan of those, but okay, you can still do that. Even if we're looking for the hashtags, right? So you've seen this guy as well, Yellow DD. So he's been there for also many months, years, right? But these gigs are low ticket, right? You have to be careful, because when you're doing something low ticket and one time, you always have to compete with the quantity, right? You need to have a lot of orders coming every day to you, new buyers as well, because you cannot work with the same buyer. Maybe it's an agency, yes, but in practically it's not. So this is sort of the gigs which are not gonna really provide you that steady income. You need to look for recurring, you need to look for a potentially high ticket, right? So growth is good one, content is good one, because those are recurring gigs which you can do. And then eventually you can always have, let's say, some sort of consultations, things like that, where you can upsell, because I think it's so important to have those consultation gigs. I don't offer them as much because I used to do them before, not as much now, because I still have good volume, so I'm just don't have any time to do that. But if you don't have a lot of volume, consultation is a good gig to keep the customer longer, right? So retain and keep them paying you for several months, because maybe you're not gonna do anything with the growth, but you're gonna do something with the consulting, right? And guiding them properly, how they should be doing the strategy, how they should be doing other things as well. So this is definitely good gigs. So guys, to sum up, you've seen Instagram probably 2023 is going to be even bigger, maybe, because there is updates. I definitely see Twitter could have some potential, especially with Musk getting on the top now of Twitter and changing things. So maybe automation will exist for Twitter, because right now it's pretty sensitive. So we're gonna see 2023 is going to be an interesting year, but so far nothing really changes. As you've seen in the next videos, I'll just kind of will be revealing some of my progress this year, and then you can see what's been happening from my side as well. Guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.